Just when you want the weather to calm down, you've got a Christmas winter storm that's going to form soon. Although some of you might get a white Christmas from it, but it's going to bring impacts to travel just in time for the holiday. I've got details on snowfall, rain and storms, as well as the timing and track of the system. Everything you need to know in this video in the next 10 minutes.
One nation weather.
Alright, let's take a look at that flood threat that's soon exiting parts of California. We had heavy rain over parts of the Los Angeles metro area today, and that has caused some flooding issues. A couple of flash flood warnings have been issued at times here with some flooding concerns over that area. The good news is that is going to kind of clear out, but we do have some other problems that we've got to deal with here. Some scattered showers over parts of the southern plains. That's been kind of in that region. We've also got some rainfall here into parts of course, southwestern California. But overall, everything's going to kind of break on up here with both of these systems over the next kind of day to 2 days. And then we're really going to begin to kind of see what our next storm system transpire here over the plains. We've got systems in the Midwest by our Friday afternoon. We've got showers here in the parts of the Pacific Northwest, and that's going to be what combines with what's moving out of the Southwest here and causes that Christmas Eve and unfortunately Christmas storm. So let's kind of play this out and kind of see what happens there. Here we go. Snowfall over parts of the Mountain West as we make our way into our Saturday morning. This is December 23rd. We've got light showers and some moderate rain as well over parts of Arizona and New Mexico. That could cause a little bit of flooding there, as this is kind of on the higher end of the spectrum for rainfall in that region. As we make our way, though, into our Christmas Eve in the early morning, we've got that low now developing here over western Kansas. Snowfall wrapping back around into parts of Montana as well as Wyoming and northern Colorado. Rainfall here out ahead of it into parts of Oklahoma, Texas, the Arklatex region. And it's going to be pretty heavy at times with some thunderstorms embedded. And then as we make our way into our Sunday, this is as we make our way into our December 24th, Christmas Eve. We've got snowfall wrapping back around on the northwest side of the system, whereas we've got that rainfall on the eastern side. And notice that little thin stripe of snow that's going to be into parts of North Dakota stretching back through northern Montana. In that area, that's where I just want to very closely watch for the potential of some very heavy snowfall for a brief period of time here on your Christmas Eve. And then as we go kind of beyond that, we start to see a second area of low pressure develop, and this could have some gustier winds with it as well as it develops over parts of the south central United States by the time we make our way towards Christmas Day itself, as snowfall really begins to wind down temporarily. Alright, here's your temperature anomalies as we make our way towards our Christmas Eve. The deep red color, that is well above average by even more than 30 degrees in some cases in that region there over the north central United States. That is going to be quite the warm up here. Very mild temperatures for that Christmas Eve time frame. The only place actually cooler than average at this point is going to be in the Pacific Northwest, but as that system moves into the Rockies by Christmas Day, we'll see some cooler air kind of dive on down behind it into parts of the Four Corners, as well as back on up into parts of Wyoming and the high plains. Otherwise, though, it's still warmer than average, especially over the Great Lakes region on Christmas Day. By the way, if you enjoy my weather content, please hit that subscribe button for accurate, easy to understand, and passionate forecasting. Moving on here with the European model, by the time we make our way into our Sunday, this is Christmas Eve, we've got that low pressure system kind of stationed here over parts of South Dakota, and that's going to bring some of that lighter to moderate snowfall back into parts of the Dakotas, western Nebraska, as well as even parts of western Kansas getting in on some of this at this point. Rainfall continues to progress into parts of Minnesota as well as parts of Iowa during this time frame, and we just get some of the rainfall as well as that snowfall pocket into parts of central South Dakota and central Nebraska. Again, that's where it could be briefly heavy late on Christmas Eve. By the time you're waking up on Christmas morning, some light snowfall exiting parts of South Dakota, moving into parts of northern Minnesota. But really, by the time you wake up, you'll have either that snow on the ground or kind of the secondary part of the system beginning to lift up from the south by the time we make our way into our Tuesday. This is December 26th. We kind of get some more push of some snowfall with maybe even a sleet and freezing rain line there to separate it from the actual rainfall. And this could bring more snowfall into parts of South Dakota and Nebraska. And by the way, it's also going to be snowing at this point down in Kansas as well as parts of even Missouri and Illinois at this point, eventually as this system kind of wraps back around. So let's kind of play this out and see how much snowfall you're getting here in the higher elevations of the Rockies as well as into the Four Corners. Totals could exceed anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of snowfall, some higher elevations getting closer to a foot, and this is by the morning time frame on your Christmas Eve. This stripe that I just circled here, that's where you're going to really see some of the heaviest snowfall. Notice how that fills in by the time we make our way to our Christmas morning. So northern Minnesota, parts of South Dakota, as well as Nebraska and far northwestern Kansas anticipate a quick 2 to 4 inches of snowfall that will bring you a white Christmas with that snowfall depth that we get out of that. And then notice as that's kind of that secondary area of low pressure fills in behind the first one, that kind of re-strengthens here, because this is a cutoff low. It's not really attached to a jet stream, which means that it's just going to be kind of lingering over the central U.S. Notice how we get that swath that moves into parts of Kansas, Missouri, and even eventually Illinois. Really, though, not quite making it to Illinois, and it's really going to be in the Great Lakes region and higher elevations of Appalachia, which is where we always get it, right? That's where we're going to see snowfall. But eventually we'll see trends that could bring snowfall further south, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But your south-central storminess timing with the European model into our Christmas Eve in the morning. Showers and storms pushing through parts of eastern Texas, central and eastern Oklahoma. I think most of this shower and storm coverage is going to be on the sub-severe side, pretty much all the way on through. So that's the good news. I'm not anticipating much in the way of severe weather, but marginally severe weather, that is certainly not out of the question. The slight severe risk can't be ruled out, but I just don't see any sort of severe weather outbreak coming out of this. Overall, most of this should remain on the, again, sub-severe side, even as it pushes towards parts of Mississippi, Louisiana, that region, the Arkla Miss, into our on Christmas Day timing. Now your system rainfall, look at this, totals anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rainfall over parts of, say, all the way from parts of Texas and the Arklatex, all the way on up into parts of the upper Midwest, and then along the East Coast we could see a little bit of resurgence of precipitation in that region, and we get some more heavy rainfall over parts of the Carolinas, as well as moving on up into parts of the northeastern United States. All right, let's look at that white Christmas possibility here. Your best bet is going to be with elevation over parts of the Mountain West as well as parts of the Four Corners region. So expect, if you're in higher elevations, to get that snowfall on the ground, or at least get it right immediately there before Christmas on that Christmas Eve storm. Speaking of that Christmas Eve storm, that brings the likelihood of a white Christmas here out of parts of Wyoming and Colorado on up into parts of the northern plains. But notice surrounding that, it's kind of still up in the air, so I'm putting possible tags in parts of Iowa and Missouri as well. I think it's going to happen a little too late there. Also possible here coming off of Lake Erie as well, as we've had enough lake effect snow to have some depth on the ground, but unlikely elsewhere. Just too warm and mild for this time of the year. Probability of precipitation with the European model ensembles. We're going to kind of look at what's going on with this system and then what's next after. You can see we've got this area of rainfall really pushing on through parts of Missouri, stretching on down to the Gulf Coast here through our Christmas, into the late day on your Christmas, and into our early Tuesday the 26th. You can see this stretch here of some very heavy precipitation, really from parts of the Great Lakes stretching on down into the southeastern United States. This is going to be a pretty heavy system, and then as that kind of moves on off towards the east, we begin to see that low pressure system just kind of start to fall apart here in the northeastern United States around the December 28th time frame. So we'll watch that. Along the west coast, we still got rainfall coming on down from time to time, and this looks like it will be an active time around the Thursday the 28th time frame. Notice kind of quiet over the central United States, because remember, the deeper the color here, that's what you're looking at the best chance of precipitation. We don't see really any deep colors by the time we make our way to the new year, although we do see some precipitation into parts of the south central, parts of the northeast, as well as parts of the west, with probability there being anywhere from 30% or higher. But look at how some of those greens and blues actually fill in, so higher confidence and more rain and precipitation as we go into January than we have at the very end of December here. So this is something really interesting to monitor. Now looking at your probability of just having some snowfall, an inch of snowfall in 24 hours, look at that again, that increases over the plains by the time we go to the end of your Christmas Day. So even if you don't have a white Christmas, which is having snow on the ground at 7 a.m. in the morning in your local time, we might at least get the potential for some of that heavier snowfall right after Christmas here into that Tuesday, Wednesday time frame over parts of Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, and Missouri. Notice here the rest of that system could bring a little bit of snowfall, but overall probabilities of snowfall decrease as this moves east. But again, the best chance from there is into parts of the Great Lakes and interior northeast. And then we get more snowfall moving into parts of the Mountain West at this point. The rest of the country staying snowfall free. But look at how, as we make our way into the new year, this is January 2nd into January 3rd and 4th. Look at how those totals really begin to increase of snowfall, with the best chances here into parts of Appalachia, the mid-Atlantic, and then stretching on back through the plains. Notice parts of Texas having an increasing chance for some snowfall. It's looking like the storm track is going to begin to sink further south as we make our way into the new year. And that could bring some interesting systems to track here, as January looks to be an active month right now, and with some potential snowfall all the way along the southern corridor, and especially in the region I just circled. So maybe if you haven't gotten snowfall yet and it's been a pretty mild winter, Now here's a look at what I've been doing here. I've been making some regional graphics, including the Southeast Ohio Valley, all the regions of the country, so I'll be giving you more of those. You saw my whole U.S. map just a minute ago, but I can shade them on in and make them look pretty cool for you. So hopefully you enjoy them and my content. If you do, please hit that subscribe button for, as I mentioned earlier, accurate, easy to understand, and passionate forecasting. Thank you so much for being a supporter of my channel, and here are the credits, everyone. Have a great day.